It raised more than $100 million from some of the most respected investors in Silicon Valley to build a single-purpose kitchen appliance, a machine that squeezed proprietary juice packets. Then, in April 2017, two Bloomberg reporters showed that the same packets could be squeezed by hand, just as fast, without the $400 machine at all. Entrepreneur Doug Evans founded the company in 2013, drawing on his background in cold-pressed juice bars to design a machine that would press single-serving packets of chopped fruit and vegetables with several hundred pounds of hydraulic force. By 2015, the company had raised well over $100 million from major venture firms, drawn by comparisons to Keurig's single-serve coffee model and the promise of a recurring subscription business built around proprietary packets. The machine launched in 2016 priced at nearly $700, later cut to $400, marketed with produce packets delivered weekly to subscribers' doors in refrigerated boxes. The machine's core selling point was pressing force so precise that only its own hardware could unlock the packet's flavor, a claim the company had built its entire premium price around. In April 2017, journalists filmed themselves squeezing the packets by hand and producing nearly identical juice in about the same time as the machine, without spending $400 on hardware at all. Within 3 months of the video going public, the company announced it was shutting down entirely and offering refunds to subscribers, having burned through its funding on a product that hand strength could replace. The company became a lasting case study taught in business schools about product-market fit, cited whenever a startup is accused of over-engineering a solution to a problem that never needed solving. Its sock puppet mascot appeared in a Super Bowl commercial and a Thanksgiving Day parade balloon before the company had ever turned a profit. Founded in 1998, Pets.com sold pet food and litter online at prices that barely covered shipping, went public in February 2000, and folded completely within 9 months, one of the fastest, most public collapses of the entire dot-com era. Founded in San Francisco in 1998, the company set out to build an online alternative to the pet supply superstore, betting that busy pet owners would pay for heavy, bulky items like litter and food to arrive at their door. The company built a sock puppet spokesdog character for its advertising, which quickly became more recognizable to the public than the company's actual product catalog. In January 2000, the mascot appeared in a national Super Bowl commercial and later as a balloon in a Thanksgiving parade, while the company went public the following month, raising over $80 million. The company was selling heavy, low-margin items like 50-pound bags of litter for less than the cost of shipping them, a subsidy strategy that required an enormous, unsustainable volume of new customers to keep functioning. As the broader dot-com stock bubble began deflating through the summer of 2000, investors grew unwilling to keep funding a business plan built on losing money per order, and new financing dried up almost entirely. In November 2000, less than a year after its stock market debut, the company announced it was shutting down and liquidating, laying off nearly all of its remaining staff within days. The sock puppet mascot outlived the company itself, later resurfacing in insurance commercials decades on, while the brand's collapse became the single most cited symbol of dot-com era excess in business retrospectives. 6 seconds, looping, endlessly rewatchable. Vine launched in 2013 and within 2 years had built the first generation of short-form video stars, years before that format would define an entire industry. Its own parent company failed to build a way for those creators to earn a living from it, and in October 2016, Twitter announced it was shutting the app down for good. 3 co-founders built the app around a simple 6-second, looping video format, and Twitter acquired the company before it had even publicly launched, releasing it under the Twitter umbrella in January 2013. The app grew rapidly through 2013 and 2014, and a distinct genre of 6-second comedy sketches, stunts, and catchphrases emerged, launching creators who would later become some of the biggest names in internet entertainment. By 2015, the app had well over 200 million active users, and its top creators were being courted directly by brands for sponsorship deals, some earning six figures per year from a handful of 6-second clips. The parent company never built a reliable monetization or ad revenue sharing system for creators, even as competing platforms began offering direct payment programs, and its own leadership was consumed by unrelated corporate turmoil. Frustrated by the lack of a path to earn a living, many of the platform's most popular creators began publicly announcing their departure to rival short-form platforms through mid-2016. In October 2016, the parent company announced it was discontinuing the app entirely, closing new video uploads within weeks and shutting the platform down completely the following year. The 6-second format it pioneered became the direct template for the short-form video platforms that dominate the internet today, built by different companies that learned from exactly what this one failed to finish. For $9.95 a month, subscribers could see one movie in theaters every single day. Relaunched in 2017 with that pricing, the service exploded to 3 million subscribers within a year, hemorrhaging money on every single ticket it sold, until the app began failing to authorize purchases entirely in the summer of 2018. The subscription movie ticket service had existed in a smaller form since 2011, but was relaunched under new leadership in August 2017 with a radically lower price point designed to grow its subscriber base as fast as possible. The new pricing went viral almost immediately, and the service signed up over 1 million subscribers within its first 10 months, far outpacing internal projections for how quickly the business would need to scale. By mid-2018, subscriber numbers had passed 3 million, and the company's parent had become one of the most talked about names in entertainment media, despite losing money on nearly every ticket redeemed. The service paid theaters full price for every ticket redeemed, while charging subscribers a flat monthly fee far below the cost of even one full-price movie, a structure that only worked if most subscribers rarely used it. In July 2018, the company's cash reserves ran so low that its app briefly stopped authorizing new ticket purchases entirely, forcing an emergency short-term loan just to keep transactions processing. Over the following year, the service repeatedly changed its pricing, restricted popular movie availability, and throttled usage limits, alienating the subscriber base it had built, before shutting down entirely in September 2019 and its parent company filing for bankruptcy months later. The service became a widely cited business school example of a subscription model priced without any sustainable path to profitability, referenced whenever a startup is accused of buying growth it cannot afford to keep. Built by a 19-year-old college student in his dorm room in 1999, Napster let anyone share music files directly with anyone else on the internet for free. Within 2 years, it had tens of millions of users and had been sued by the world's biggest record labels and one of the loudest bands in rock. By July 2001, a federal court injunction shut it down completely. 19-year-old college student Sean Fanning wrote the first version of the software in 1999, designing a peer-to-peer network that let users search for and download music files directly from other users' computers. Word spread through college campuses almost entirely by word of mouth, and within a year the service had grown to tens of millions of registered users, straining university internet networks so heavily that some schools had to block it outright. By early 2001, the service had an estimated 80 million registered users worldwide, making it briefly one of the fastest adopted pieces of software in internet history. The entire service operated without licensing agreements from record labels or artists, built on the assumption that free file sharing existed in a legal gray area the music industry would be slow to challenge. The Recording Industry Association of America filed suit in December 1999, and the rock band Metallica separately sued the following year after discovering unreleased tracks circulating freely on the network, escalating public and legal pressure sharply. In July 2001, a federal appeals court upheld an injunction ordering the service to block the trading of copyrighted material, and unable to comply while still functioning, the company shut its network down entirely within days. The company's name and technology were sold and rebranded multiple times over the following decade, but its real legacy was forcing the entire music industry to eventually build the legal streaming and download services listeners now use every day. It had audited some of the largest companies in America for nearly 90 years and employed 85,000 people worldwide. Then its role as Enron's auditor and the shredding of Enron-related documents by its own staff led to a 2002 criminal conviction for obstruction of justice. The firm lost its license to audit public companies and effectively ceased to exist within months, even though the conviction was later overturned on appeal. By then, there was nothing left to save. The firm was founded in Chicago in 1913 by accountant Arthur Anderson, who built its early reputation on strict, uncompromising auditing standards at a time when financial reporting rules were still loosely enforced across American business. Over the following decades, the firm grew into one of the largest and most respected accounting practices in the world, eventually becoming one of the industry's dominant firms alongside a handful of major global competitors. By the late 1990s, the firm employed roughly 85,000 people across offices worldwide and served as auditor to some of the largest publicly traded corporations in the United States, including a rapidly growing energy trading company named Enron. As Enron's accounting irregularities began drawing regulatory scrutiny in late 2001, staff at the firm's Houston office destroyed a large volume of documents related to the Enron audit, an action prosecutors would later argue amounted to obstruction of justice. As Enron collapsed into bankruptcy in December 2001, federal prosecutors indicted the firm itself on criminal obstruction charges in March 2002, and major corporate clients began terminating their contracts within weeks out of reputational concern. A jury convicted the firm of obstruction of justice in June 2002, and having already lost its license to audit public companies and nearly all of its clients, the firm effectively dissolved within the year, laying off the vast majority of its worldwide staff. The Supreme Court unanimously overturned the conviction in 2005 on narrow legal grounds, but by then the firm no longer existed to benefit from it. Its collapse remains one of the fastest destructions of a major global professional firm in modern business history. It had financed the Napoleonic Wars and helped underwrite the Louisiana Purchase, and by 1995, it was one of the oldest merchant banks in Britain, with clients that reportedly included the royal family. Then, a single derivatives trader in its Singapore office, operating with almost no oversight, ran up losses of roughly £827 million. The bank collapsed within days and was sold for the symbolic price of £1. The bank was established in London in 1762 and grew over the following 2 centuries into one of the most prestigious merchant banks in Britain, financing government debt, international trade, and major infrastructure projects worldwide. By the mid-20th century, the bank had built a reputation as one of the most conservative and respected institutions in British finance, with a client list that reportedly included the royal family among its private banking customers. In the early 1990s, the bank expanded aggressively into Asian derivatives trading, opening a Singapore trading desk led by a young trader named Nick Leeson, who was soon generating what appeared to be substantial profits for the firm. The bank allowed the same trader to control both the trading desk and the settlement office that was supposed to independently verify his trades, removing the internal check that should have caught unauthorized positions far earlier. Leeson used an obscure internal account to hide mounting losses from unauthorized derivatives bets, and by early 1995, those hidden losses had grown to an estimated £827 million, more than the bank's entire available capital. The losses became public in late February 1995, and within days, the 233-year-old bank was declared insolvent and sold to a Dutch financial group for the symbolic price of £1, taking on its liabilities in exchange. The collapse became one of the most widely taught case studies in financial risk management, cited for decades afterward whenever regulators argue for stricter separation between trading and settlement functions inside a bank. It raised roughly $800 million to build automated warehouses the size of several football fields, promising to deliver groceries to your door within a 30-minute window. Founded in 1999, it expanded to 10 cities in barely 2 years, burning cash faster than any online grocer before it. In July 2001, it filed for bankruptcy, becoming the dot-com era's most expensive cautionary tale. Founded in the San Francisco Bay Area in 1999, the company set out to reinvent grocery shopping entirely through online ordering and automated warehouse fulfillment, rather than simply delivering from existing supermarket stock. The company raised extraordinary sums from venture investors, ultimately committing to a 26-city expansion plan and constructing enormous automated distribution centers designed to process tens of thousands of orders a day. By late 2000, the company had gone public and expanded operations to 10 metropolitan areas, delivering groceries in 30-minute windows from warehouses built at a cost of roughly $35 million each. Each of the massive automated warehouses required an enormous, geographically concentrated customer base to run profitably, but actual order volume in most cities fell far short of what the facilities were built to handle. The company was losing money on nearly every order while its cash reserves dwindled through 2001. And as the broader dot-com funding environment collapsed, no new investment came in to cover the enormous fixed costs of the warehouse network. In July 2001, less than a year after its stock market debut, the company filed for bankruptcy and shut down operations entirely, laying off more than 2,000 employees and closing every warehouse it had built. Years later, other companies would succeed at online grocery delivery using more cautious, incremental approaches, and business analysts frequently credit this company's failure with teaching the entire industry exactly how not to scale grocery delivery too fast. For 4 decades, it was the preferred bank for startups and venture capital firms across Silicon Valley, holding deposits for roughly half of all U.S. venture-backed technology and life science companies. In March 2023, a bond portfolio loss triggered a wave of withdrawal requests that spread through founder group chats and social media within hours. Regulators seized the bank within 48 hours, in the second largest bank failure in American history. Founded in 1983, the bank built its business specifically around serving startups and the venture capital firms that funded them, a niche few traditional banks were willing to specialize in at the time. Over the following decades, the bank grew alongside the technology industry itself, becoming deeply embedded in Silicon Valley's startup ecosystem, often serving as the exclusive banking relationship for venture-backed companies from their earliest funding rounds. By early 2023, the bank held over $200 billion in assets and served roughly half of all U.S. venture-backed technology and life science companies, making it one of the most systemically important banks in the startup economy. The bank had invested a large share of customer deposits into long-term government bonds during a period of low interest rates, leaving it exposed to significant paper losses once interest rates rose sharply over the following 2 years. On March 8, 2023, the bank announced it had sold a portion of its bond portfolio at a significant loss and would raise new capital to shore up its balance sheet, a disclosure that triggered immediate alarm among venture capital firms. Word spread rapidly through founder and investor group chats overnight, triggering withdrawal requests of over $40 billion within a single day, and regulators shut the bank down and seized its assets on March 10, 2023. The collapse became a widely studied example of how quickly modern bank runs can accelerate through social media and instant messaging, prompting regulators worldwide to re-examine how fast a bank's reserves can be depleted in the digital age. Under Chief Executive Dennis Kozlowski, Tyco International grew into a sprawling industrial conglomerate worth over $100 billion. Then prosecutors alleged he had looted the company for personal luxury, from a reported $6,000 gold and burgundy shower curtain to a $2 million birthday party for his wife partly billed to the company. He was convicted on multiple counts of grand larceny and fraud in 2005. The company traced its roots to a research laboratory founded in New Hampshire in 1960, which gradually expanded through decades of acquisitions into a sprawling conglomerate spanning electronics, healthcare, and industrial products. Dennis Kozlowski became chief executive in 1992 and pursued an aggressive acquisition strategy throughout the 1990s, rapidly expanding the company's size and reach across dozens of industries worldwide. By 2001, the conglomerate's market value had grown to over $100 billion, and it was regularly listed among the largest industrial companies in the world, with operations spanning more than 100 countries. Prosecutors later alleged that Kozlowski had used company funds and questionable loan programs to finance an extravagant personal lifestyle, including art, real estate, and lavish celebrations, largely without adequate board oversight. Regulators and prosecutors opened an investigation in 2002 after details emerged about a lavish company-subsidized birthday celebration held on a Mediterranean island, reportedly costing around $2 million, roughly half billed to the company. Kozlowski was indicted in 2002 and, after an initial mistrial, convicted in June 2005 on 22 counts, including grand larceny, conspiracy, and securities fraud, and sentenced to up to 25 years in state prison. The scandal became one of the defining early 2000s examples of executive excess and weak corporate governance, cited for years afterward in the push for stronger board oversight of executive compensation and spending. Inside its Palo Alto research lab in the 1970s, Xerox engineers invented the graphical user interface, the computer mouse, and the laser printer, technologies that would define personal computing for the next 50 years. The company's own leadership largely failed to see the commercial potential of what its researchers had built, and it was Apple and Microsoft, not Xerox, who turned those inventions into the industries that made them giants. The company had built its fortune on the photocopier, a technology it commercialized in 1959 that became so dominant the company's name entered everyday language as a verb for making a copy. Flush with photocopier profits, the company established a dedicated research facility in Palo Alto in 1970, staffed with some of the most talented computer scientists in the country and given remarkable freedom to pursue long-term research. By the mid-1970s, researchers at the lab had built a working computer with a graphical desktop interface, a mouse, and networked laser printing, years before any of those technologies existed commercially anywhere else in the world. Corporate leadership, based on the opposite coast and focused on the profitable copier business, largely failed to grasp the commercial potential of the lab's inventions, and no dedicated product division was built to bring them to market. In December 1979, the company allowed a young Apple co-founder and his engineering team to tour the research lab and see the graphical interface demonstrated firsthand, in exchange for the right to purchase pre-IPO Apple stock. Apple built its own graphical operating systems directly inspired by what its team had seen, releasing them commercially through the 1980s, while Microsoft followed with its own graphical interface soon after, and the company that had invented the technology first captured only a fraction of the personal computing revolution it had made possible. The research lab's inventions are still credited today as the technical foundation of nearly every modern computer interface, and the company's failure to commercialize them became one of the most studied cautionary tales in the history of innovation management. It was valued at $32 billion, backed by some of the most respected venture investors in the world, and its founder had been profiled as a potential future leader of American finance. Then, in November 2022, a report questioning the financial health of its sister trading firm triggered a wave of customer withdrawals the exchange could not meet. Within 9 days, it had filed for bankruptcy, and its founder was later convicted on multiple counts of fraud in federal court. The exchange was founded in 2019 by a young trader with a background in quantitative finance, built specifically to offer cryptocurrency derivatives trading with tools aimed at both retail users and professional trading firms. The exchange grew rapidly through 2020 and 2021, expanding its headquarters to the Bahamas and attracting investment from major venture capital firms, while its founder became a prominent, widely profiled figure in financial media. By early 2022, the exchange was valued at roughly $32 billion in its most recent funding round, sponsoring major sports arenas and celebrity endorsement campaigns, and was widely regarded as one of the most trusted platforms in the cryptocurrency industry. The exchange maintained an unusually close financial relationship with a separate trading firm founded by the same individual, with customer funds reportedly flowing between the two entities in ways that blurred the line between exchange deposits and trading capital. On November 2, 2022, a financial news outlet published a report raising questions about the trading firm's balance sheet, triggering a wave of customer withdrawal requests from the exchange that grew within days into a full-scale bank run. Unable to meet the surge of withdrawal requests, the exchange halted customer withdrawals entirely on November 8th, and by November 11th, 2022, it had filed for bankruptcy, with its founder resigning the same day and later facing federal fraud charges. The founder was convicted in federal court in November 2023 on multiple counts of fraud and conspiracy, and the collapse triggered a wave of new regulatory scrutiny over cryptocurrency exchanges worldwide, remaining one of the fastest, most dramatic corporate collapses in financial history.